It's a pleasure to welcome everyone to the 15th Inflection Warehousing Innovation Web Conference and Awards, endorsed by Councils of Supply Chain Professionals, Singapore Institute of Materials and Management, and organized by Alden Global Value Advisors. I am Priyanka Jain from Team Alden Global and will be the host for the day. Inflection is a series of web and physical conferences and awards across Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. Today, we are joined by top warehousing, supply chain, and technology leaders of India to make this conference an exciting communication platform for sharing best practices, the roadmap to the future, and innovative solutions. Today's conference theme is Transformation to Smart Warehousing. Today, 100 plus CXOs and more than 300 plus attendees have registered to gain insights from top leaders. Let's start the conference with the first panel discussion of the day, and the topic is Reshaping and Reinventing Warehousing. Here I call the moderator, Mr. Tapasvi from Arvind Limited, Anil Chinnabandar from Glenmark Group, Rahul Padar from Nestle, Rajat Sharma from Hamilton, Anirban Sanyal from Century Plyboards, Anil Kumar Mishra from Pledges Global, and K. Udyan Kohli from Hyphen Foods. Now I request Tapasvi to start the discussion.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you Alden and Sandeep for organizing this meet once again. This is very much required in today's the situation we are in, the disruption which is going on across Russia and Ukraine, the differences between them, and that might lead to the war situation. So how are we prepared in future? Okay, suppose something happens. So time and again we need to keep discussing on these things, so that people would get to know the best practices. And this is one of the things you have done by, getting everyone together and giving a platform to share the knowledge. Thank you for that, Sandeep, once again. And all the panelists also who are here, welcome. So today we'll be discussing on the future of warehousing and how we can innovate more and more. In the sense, see, for example, I'll tell you, the Russia and Ukraine, the heat of the war which is going on, okay. So in case if that happens, for example, God forbid and it shouldn't, then what happens is the diesel price is going to go up. The petrol and diesel prices are going to go up. So then what will happen? One is, as an industry expert, I'm giving my views first of all, okay. So what is going to go on is, the diesel prices are going to go up, so the companies have to spend more in terms of transportation. That is, instead of sending 10 vehicles, okay, now they will try to optimize, instead of optimizing the loads, okay, they're making multiple deliveries. They will now try to optimize it, and then they will try to send bigger loads. Okay, now the demand from the organizations will go to the customers, stating that please increase the load size because the cost is going to go up. And this leads to increase in warehousing capacity, because you're sending a big load. Instead of 10 tons, you're dispatching 20 tons and 40 tons as a stock transfer. So that means that you will have to have big warehousing spaces. Already the warehousing spaces are, people are investing left and right in warehousing. Maple Tree Logistics, they have invested. RMZ has come into logistics. So logistics parks are being developed. In the recent budget also, they have stated that. So in this way, there is a big demand. Whatever warehousing we have seen till now, maybe till 2020, and the warehousing we'll see from 2020 to 2030 is going to be completely different, ramped up. So how prepared are we for this, and how do we, optimize the cost in warehousing and still keep the customers happy and dispatch the materials in such a way that they are dispatched in timely manner, efficient manner, safely, and the quality of the product is maintained, and of course the cost matters. So to give the insights today, I have with me the panelists. So before getting to them, I'll introduce myself. I'm Tapasvi, currently handling EXIM and logistics function for Arvind Limited. Well, I don't have to talk much about Arvind Limited because everyone knows what Arvind is. a simple example like Coca-Cola or anyone gives, the number of bottles being stacked. So if I have to tell Arvind the amount of production we do in a year, if we spin it around the earth, it will take 9 turns. So that's the amount of production we do at Arvind. And we have brands like, US Polo, Arrow, Flying Machine, and many others where we do the distribution, like Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein. So my prior experience has been with Bacardi, Coca-Cola, Indulge Beverages, and Ultratech Cement in the field of logistics, warehousing, export, import. So that's about me. And now I would request the panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll move forward with the topic. So starting with Anil Chinabdar.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. And I think it's again been an absolute excitement and pleasure to be actually part of this esteemed panel. And again, thanks to Alden Global and the associates actually for putting up another wonderful show. I guess like Tapasvi was mentioning, it's a need of the hour. So I'm Dr. Chinnabandar. I'm actually heading as Senior VP for Landmark Group, Max Retail Division actually. Apparel, accessories, footwear, and all that, and then quite a few other things inside the, other part of the automation and so on. So I've been kind of part of the top 6 trade retailers, in fact, across the globe, right from Walmart, Home Depot, Kroger, Tesco, Sainsbury, Woolworths, Coles, all the way to Australia. So I've had a gamut of wide experience across the globe. So it's actually been a great time for the last 10 years in India, that we've been traveling through the retail. And all I have to say actually just as the last sentence is that Tapasvi, we are like the medical professionals. We are like the doctors in actually the supply chain and the logistics space, because doctors won't know what the patient brings in when he or she walks into the door. So you are actually, a quiz about, the current, Russia and then kind of Ukraine situation is. Let's do the investigation and diagnose actually the disease. And, with our expertise and then kind of experience, we will always actually have some medication or the other for it, be it actually a cheap alternate or an expensive due to the diesel hike and all that. The good thing is actually we have lots of doctors actually amongst us, and I think we have the solution collectively. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well said. We are the doctors. That's right. So next time I'll request Anil Kumar Mishra to introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Anil Mishra. I take care of the logistics and demand planning and EXIM for the Pladis Global. We are having the brand like a Godiva chocolate and the McVitie's and the Ulker. I take care for the South Asia.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Anil. Then we have Anirban Sayal.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be part of this panel. I'm Anirban. I'm heading the supply chain for Century Ply. So personally, I have an experience of approximately 25 years in Lever, ITC, Reckitt, and few years overseas as well. So Century Ply is a known brand pan-India. We are into laminate and plywood industry. So that's all from my end, and we'll take it forward from the remaining day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anil. So then we have Rahul Padar.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Rahul Podar. I am procurement lead for services and indirect material sourcing for Nestle India Limited. Nestle India Limited is a Indian subsidiary of Nestle, which is the world's largest food company. And in India, of course, I mean, we touch each and every household through our flagship brands like Maggi, Kit Kat, Nescafe, Cerelac, and Lactogen. Happy to be part of being this panel, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So let me start with Rahul Podar itself. Okay. So Rahul, how do you think, as I spoke about the warehousing, which is going to go up in a big way, how do you think these logistics parks are going to change the way we are doing business? the warehousing dynamics? How are they going to affect it?
Very good question, Tapasvi. So, I just like to uh, draw back to a story, a very small story from Nestle. So, in 2010, we got a supply chain director in Nestle India, and this gentleman who came in India from an expat arrangement. His name was Mr. Luca Fischera. He's basically Italian by origin, and he has worked internationally in Nestle in many markets before he joined Nestle India. And his goal was to modernize Nestle India's distribution center infrastructure the way he was seen in other countries. And then when he went around the market looking out for warehouses, he couldn't find even one warehouse suiting the specification. So there was, if you were to do a deviation mapping between what was there ready to move in and what Nestle wanted ideally as its ideal spec, there were deviations of up to 40-50%, and hence there was no choice left, and we had to get into a build-to-suit arrangement with a private landlord through DHL, and then we continued it, and that was the only one warehouse he could create during his tenure, and then he left. And then in 2019 or 20 beginning, this gentleman got promoted to becoming the zone supply chain head for Nestle India, for Nestle Asia, Oceania, and Pacific, Africa and Pacific. And then he came down to visit, and we took him around. And so, if you are based out of Gurgaon and you take your car towards Farooq Nagar or along the KMP highway, you start citing all these modern infrastructure logistics parks which are coming up. And the gentleman was shocked, and he said that this is something which used to be my dream. So sorry for taxing your time, but probably this kind of in a very short and impactful manner communicates what warehouse park industry is doing, the kind of facility it is bringing for all the industry players. I think the biggest beneficiary of this and probably the biggest driver for this is the e-com industry, because they have a unsatiable hunger for class A warehouses. Of course, in the line, we all like food industry, hair, and all different kinds of industry have benefited. But what are the benefits? The benefits are you don't have to get into lengthy discovery phases. You have ready to move in grade A world-class warehouses available off the shelf. These warehouses often are already engaged with certain 3PL players like Indospace, DHL, and Stellar, and all these people. And these are then available to us on a shareable basis. So we need not engage space more than what we require. Thirdly, this kind of infrastructure sharing has brought down our costs. We are able to transact these warehouses and the entire warehousing services on a per case basis, which gives a very good, costing advantage to businesses, which was earlier not known. Thirdly, it takes away the pressure upon us to hire an army of people to manage our own warehouses. Now we can simply outsource it. It's a plug and play system, and we can exit with very nominal kind of exit notices whenever the strategy changes or the network changes. Also, once you are inside a warehouse park, there's a whole plethora of ancillary services which come available. Often these clusters tend to become a major attraction or the center for transport market. So your freight rates improve because your transporters know that an incoming truck will find something outgoing from this. If you have a million square feet under in one area or 2 million square feet in one area, the kind of gigantic warehouse parks we are looking, this really helps us also in bringing down our logistics costs, both in primary and secondary. So the reverse freight market gets concentrated. And then, of course, for Nestle, norms like greenhouse gas emission and responsible sourcing are very important. And these warehouses tend to offer us, they are compliant in all manners. The construction qualities are up to grade. There are no malpractices of child labor happening in these areas. There is no pollution happening. There is no encroachment or land disputes there, right? So in a way, it brings up around a very good ecosystem. It's a boon to Indian industry, and I am sure that after big success in probably major metros right now, like Bangalore, NCR, Bombay, and all that, this trend will keep on catching on, and we will have more and more logistics parks across the country.
Absolutely right. I mean, say, for example, we have talked about everything. I mean, what are the advantages of having these logistics parks? Like the plug and play model. Gone are the days when we used to go to the warehouses and ask them, please do it for us, please enhance this, please enhance that. Then they would take their own sweet time to put in things. So in the meanwhile, there would be disruptions happening in the business, and we had to answer to the sales and marketing, So as you rightly said, that's how it is now. We just go in, see which compliant warehouse is there, and just take it. And they're also investing on a lot of people also, the quality of manpower they're giving to execute the operations, the 3PL operations. That's also wonderful. So one question, I mean, Rahul, because you're into procurement as well as you're into procurement, right?
Yeah.
Head of procurement. So if you have to, justify between increased space of warehousing and vendor managed inventory.
Sorry, I didn't get the second part.
Vendor managed inventory, VMI. So which side would you take?
All right. See, for me, these affect two different streams, right? So vendor managed inventory is a lever which you would use in upstream where, it's coming into the factory. Now, often factories there, as I said, tier, in India, factories tend to be located in tier 2 cities. So there we are yet to see warehousing parks getting evolved, right? So like we have a coffee factory in Nanjangud near Mysore, and we're looking out for a warehouse there, but there's no park. So we have to go for a BTS, right? Whereas the parks are coming up more in downstream. So it's basically when the goods flow out of factories and are coming into the market. So these parks are often around the clusters of the markets, the major markets, right? So I do not really see, there's no trade-off for me. I mean, VMI is for factories, and this is for my distribution centers where I have to hold the stocks.
Okay.
I hope I got your question right.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Okay, there are a lot of professionals who are seeing this, a lot of executives who are going through these videos. So it will be very helpful for them to know what's the difference between both.
See, I guess, Tapasvi, I would like to add a point here. See, even though we are like an apparel player, we have actually successfully started the VMI like exactly what happens in the automotive field. But the point is, it is not like actually pushing the inventory or pushing my responsibility onto the supplier. It is not that. It's more than that. It is actually creating that ecosystem of maybe help them to actually locate a proper warehouse. Because let's admit, a large chunk of our suppliers are all SME sector, right? They are not from the largest, the business houses and all that, right? Therefore, they also have a space crunch. And like Rahul was mentioning, they're all clusters where the the rental space is already at a good price. Therefore, it is a joint exercise to create that infrastructure. So get them probably a warehousing space, maybe like what Rahul was saying, kind of an integrated warehousing space, per case basis or per pallet basis or something like that. And then work out the costing. Unless you create as a retailer or as a customer, unless you create a win-win situation for you and your supplier, like exactly what happens in the automotive field, because automotive supply chain is probably the benchmark one, right? To the suppliers, ancillaries, raw material suppliers, everyone kind of actually knows exactly what happens, how much margin they are making, what are the timelines, all of those things. We need to evolve to that situation wherein we create actually a win-win situation for the entire value chain and kind of make use of that so that you deliver a better value for your customer rather than kind of, only looking at it from your own advantage. I think those days are gone. At least one thing that COVID has taught all of us is to become a community person, to become actually like, transparent as possible, and to help each other. I guess that is where, I guess, whether it is VMI or non-VMI, plays into. VMI obviously has advantages, but then you have to create that ecosystem actually, no matter which business you are in.
Right, absolutely right. You're right, because as you rightly said, there are situations wherein the export costs have gone through the roof. That is the shipping cost in exports. But even then, whichever customers we are supplying to, at least they understand, yes, the situation is not as before. So we are also willing to share the cost of that differential cost which has gone up. So as you said, both sides are equally competitive. Both sides are equally understanding, and they're trying to get synergies in place and then put it forward. Thank you. So my next question would be to Anil. So can you just explain why balancing efficiency and agility in warehousing is very much essential?
Yeah. So this is the two integral part, but maybe little contradictory in nature, that efficiency and agility. Because it's a fine balance between two. So if traditionally, if you're talking about a warehousing efficiency, that is like the streamlining of the operation with, ensure that maximum productivity and with a strong SOP. Now, the moment we put that SOP in place, what happens then? Your agility is questioned, because agility is all about how you're handling the changes, how flexible you are to, get into the changes. So I think what is happening over a period of time, especially post-COVID or all the uncertainties in the year, currently the system is working in a direction perhaps where the efficiency is not measured fully in terms of cost. It's becoming a balance between cost and service. And even for all the supply chain professional also, perhaps now we are little away from the cost first approach rather than cost and the service. There earlier it was like, if we had pre-COVID, it is all about, I think all the supply chain professionals have been heavily questioned that how to reduce the cost, and all the just in time and all the minimizing the inventory, lean management, all these things are in heavily practiced. But I think these last 2 years changed this scenario in a way that one is that now we are little conservative as an organization also, because we also realize that until we are coming to us again pre-COVID era, perhaps coming back to the old normal, and again we are getting into the war situation. So the uncertainty is so high, and if you are depending on the EXIM, then your dependency is further more. So in that scenario, what is happening, that agility in the warehousing is coming heavily in a way that one is that having a multiple offering. Someone may need a different size of storage space. Then tier 2, tier 3 cities are also coming into the picture. Earlier, it was like we are holding a substantial amount of finished products. Now that pressure is coming that we need to hold more of a raw material rather than putting the finished product and at the last leg of delivery. So that we don't want to move the stocks to the farthest location rather than consolidation and to hold in a central location. So those things are putting additional challenges in terms of warehousing as well as for the transportation, because with the current improvement in the road condition, the transit time heavily reduced. I'm talking about India scenario. So that means my reaction time is further improved. So what is going to happen, that the manufacturing facility in the towns wherever we are having, and especially with so many SEJs coming in many places. So what is going to happen, that those places is going to have a bigger need of the bigger space. Whereas just to ensure the cost elements, the city limit space, we are going to reduce. So that definition of agility itself is changing every day. So perhaps we don't want to do the costly warehouses as our storage space. That going to be more of a dock in, dock out. That how fast will be my inventory turnaround for those places. So these are going to play a bigger role. So I think the 5 thing which is going to play a very big role in the agility, bringing agility, is that alertness. The system need to be alert. And when we are talking about alertness, the warehouse owner or the logistics part owner or the 3PL service provider, they have to be alert with the environment. They cannot be very rigid that I will do this and I will not do this. So do's and don'ts are getting very fine trimmed, that we really don't set the same do's and don'ts for incoming days. Second thing is that accessibility to the data. Now we are realizing that the more data we are having and data sharing, as Mr. Anil is rightly speaking, that there is no other side of the table. We have to remember we both all are sitting on the same table. So there is no other side that we used to keep on saying other side. There is no other side. It's a win-win. So the data sharing has to be very transparent and real-time data sharing, which will give us more flexibility and agility and the swiftness. One is that we are having the data. The data need to convert into decision, because with that information we are just sitting that, okay, we are having this information and what to do with the information. We convert that information into decision and convert the decision into action. So these three are going to play a major role, where we strongly feel that the logistics part is going to play a big role. At the same time, also we are also realizing the logistics part is coming at a little costlier than the traditional warehousing. So what happens generally that I also spent a few times, 1.5 years with one of the like 3PL company, where we are having the first pioneer of this sharing service, which is that time it was Semcorp Logistics, now it's Toll India. So what happened that end of the day, the costing includes all the vacant places and vacant months. So end of the day, the entire cost is coming back to the the client. So that times what happens that if we see that we can manage, so that become a total cost. So end of the day, the consumer or the end product, if it is levied with all those costs, then again we are going back to the traditional warehouse. So you'll find that FMCG, they are still mostly with a traditional big warehouse, standalone warehouses. So I think like for the audience perhaps who are handling the logistics part, you have to come up with maybe a sustainable solution, or your investment has to have in a way that it should not immediately hit the, if somebody is coming for say 100 pallet space or 200 pallet space, they should be able to link that with a traditional warehouse, that okay, I can have a single digit extra money, but it should not be more than 7, 8, 10, 9%. It should not hit that key. If the 10% is additional I am paying, then what happened that I'm ready to adjust, or maybe ready to sacrifice a little bit of agility, because end of the day still we are answerable for the cost. Whatever comes end of the day, we are part of the cost center. So there's a fine line between that and for the message for the logistics part fraternity.
Well said. Actually speaking, as you spoke about sharing the facilities, right, for 100 pallet positions and 200 pallet positions. Well, there's a saying from childhood that sharing is caring. Now, people have to put that in place, either that caring is for them as well as the other person. So if companies start, say they take a 5,000 pallet position warehouse and the occupancy is somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000, 4,000 or 4,500. At least those 500 pallet positions, if they say the service provider, well, you can let it out if the materials are compatible.
Yeah.
So that I think then the service provider will be able to give.
And one thing, Tapasya, I'll take 1 more minute. Since I was part of the, this costing during my tenure, what happens is that most of these logistics parks sell, or they come into contract more than 100% of their capacity. Because what happened that any given point of time, all of the clients does not take all 100% of their confirmed pallet capacity. So while I understand that is a profit they have to also make, and they have to have their own books of accounts to be profitable. But I think somewhere that has to be a win-win, because as we said that there is no other side of the table, we are on the same table. So these costing tricks and costing mechanism are known to each one. So I think that is one element which we need to perhaps to be more transparent and more open.
Rightly said. So moving on to Anil Chinabdar, you're from the Landmark Group, as you said now. So how do you think leveraging the automation, how do we enhance the capacity or the productivity by leveraging these automations? Because you procure from many countries, right? So what are the productivity plans or the improvements have taken place? If you can just elaborate or talk on that, will be great.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Tapasvi. I guess just before I move on to that, I just would like to add one small thing actually on the previous question. You talked about warehouse efficiency versus agility, right? And agility, right? If you ask me, actually, warehouse efficiency is purely a, KRA of the warehousing side of things or supply chain team. Agility is a business survival, actually, effort that we need to do right now. Because COVID has very clearly taught all of us, particularly the retailers, actually, if you are not agile, if you are not able to service that customer demand quickly, your demand is gone. Customer has gone to somebody else, right? Be it actually, Landmark Group or Arvind or Madura, whoever it is. I mean, customer, don't have the patience right anymore to kind of wait for those number of hours, days and weeks, what used to happen in the past, right? Therefore, agility is actually the business survival metric, number one metric. That's exactly what COVID has taught us. So that's the reason why you have today, supply chain management is a number one topic in the board meetings. Supply chain, digital supply chain is the, probably the number 1 or 2 actually agenda item on the board meeting or the senior management meeting, which never used to be the case. If the time actually permitted, then supply chain review used to happen actually not, a couple of years ago, right? Or before that. So therefore, agility has now really brought supply chain management into the forefront. And then efficiency in the back end is a pure metric for the supply chain team to actually do it. And quite often, even if you are efficient, if you don't have the agility, it doesn't lead you to any sales or profits and all that. So that's the major difference. What's happened, at least that's been cut out in the last couple of years, right? Now, coming to the warehouse automation, obviously there has to be a degree of automation actually that is required, for the day. I recall, even 20 years back, I was actually I happened to visit one of our warehouses back in US. This was supplying for the Boeing parts, actually. It was a 4 million square feet of warehouse managed by 4 people. 4 million square feet of warehouse, which is 40 lakh square feet of, warehouse actually space managed by 4 people, completely automated. And then if you ask me actually, what is the situation like, 10 years later, even in India for that matter, you go and actually visit one of the most probably high-tech and advanced warehouses actually, which Future Group built in Nagpur. That's Mihan. That was again, state-of-the-art actually warehousing infrastructure they built with all the sorters, conveyors, all sorts of shuttle service, and then really a high-tech one. But then, unfortunately, the business itself could not sustain that, right? And we talk about ALDs, we talk about narrow aisle actually the conveyors and all that, and also the carousels and so on, right? In India, it has a different meaning altogether. In our warehouses, do we have quite a bit of automation? Yes, we do. I mean, what are the automation that, is probably, helping us to improve the productivity? Obviously, the put to light or put to belt or, pick to belt, pick to light, all of those actually are an essential part of probably the warehouse. Even before that, your paperless warehousing is probably the mandatory starting point for any warehousing in India, because using RF, using RF guns, and then using actually no pen and paper within the warehouse is probably the first step to automation. I think if you are able to use the entire RF infrastructure within your own actually warehousing space, that's a very, very good productivity tool for you. Then you can go on to some of these, conveyor driven or pick to belt, put to belt, all those ones actually pick to light, systems. In fact, you can go. There are a lot of small local innovations which have come in actually to increase the receiving speed. I mean, we have express lanes actually to receive, which means we are able to receive almost like a 20-foot, container in less than probably hour and a half actually, all the way to the bins and so on, right? So those are all some of those ones are there. And then in India, typically, because we are a very complex market, we have to do the weight checks, we have to do the sample checks, we have to do the quality certification, all those things, because a lot of things can go wrong in this space. Therefore, whatever you, for example, your LBH, in fact, auto checkers and so on, some of those things also can come. Now, there are quite a few probably enhancement which has happened in the picking side of things. I mean, I'm privy to some of the probably best in class Swiss log or, the Dematic, Siemens Dematic actually systems, for the last almost even 25 years ago, in fact, in abroad. Whereas in India, it's all coming slowly, it's making its way. So pick trolleys, for example, pick trolleys with the lights. I mean, that's probably will give you accuracy as well as speed. because your accuracy is what is most important more than the speed. Because if you pick a wrong product, you will probably take another 2 or 3 probably times the cycle time actually to correct that, right? So accuracy is very, very important for us. Similarly, in terms of pick balancing, pick line balancing itself, if you have a decent WMS system, if you have a decent slotting optimization system, you'll be able to get a lot of productivity from some of those things. And I think the core what is probably expected in India is the voice related, actually the picking gadgets, I guess. The head voice picking actually headsets, or even the Gladiator, actually the RS scanners and so on. And I think the probably the best in class warehouse automation would probably be incomplete without a fully RFID enabled warehouse. I'm very, very glad to actually find that there are quite a few cold storages, quite a few pharmaceutical companies who have started using the RFID. Because of the RFID tag cost itself is actually, is quite inhibited. That's the reason, people are slowly getting into it. But RFID enabled warehouse probably gives you the best in class automation, because you don't need to scan anything. I mean, you just push the trolley through your, readers in the inbound, then to the put away and to the bins, actually, again, the readers will read it. And then even when you want to pick it and then pack and send it, you don't need to do any keying in operation at all. So that is probably the best in class, in fact. But then along with that, there are a lot of shuttle services, the pick trolleys, actually with a lot of automation. In fact, we built a 1 billion dirham warehouse, fully automated, state-of-the-art actually warehouse, one in Dubai, which is complete already for almost about 18 months now. And the other one, in fact, in Riyadh, we are actually building as we speak. So there are really some very, very high cost or high investment propositions are there. But to India, probably in Indian context, they may not be relevant actually. Because let's admit, even now, as a CSR probably angle or as a community angle, we still are expected to employ thousands and thousands of people, which are also available. So it's kind of a community or a cultural issue for us. We need to have a best match of or best of both, people as well as a technology. So I guess in that sense, we have reasonable amount of technology or automation right now, what is being used in India across many warehouses, including ours actually, coupled with the automation is almost becoming an enabler for the community to do better productivity. So therefore, people who are able to pick only 200 or 300 pieces per day or whatever, today they're able to pick as many as 3,000 pieces per day, right? So that's a great journey, in fact. And as you rightly mentioned in the beginning itself, or as one of our co-panelists spoke about it, the advent of e-commerce in this country has definitely brought that technology to the forefront and given a big boost to the warehouse automation. So there are a lot of good initiatives happening around the warehouse automation, and that's what probably will continue to happen actually.
Absolutely. I mean, what you said, like RFID and RF scanners, RFID. So I would like to share one example for RFID also. If you go to Decathlon nowadays, I mean, we just have to pick the dresses and they put it in a box near the billing counter and they don't even scan. The counter, the box itself is a scanner. Whatever shirts you put in, you don't have to scan it all. So that kind of a technology is what we are looking at in future.
See, interestingly, what had happened actually, Tapasvi, not now, back in 2000, 2001, I was actually running a warehouse in Penang in Malaysia. It was for a computer manufacturing company. The computer actually production line people used to come and then bring the trolley, put all the, put all the parts into their trolley, and to build a server, build a computer and all that, they would just go through a checkout without even stopping. And that actually accounted for all the parts which was taken up from the shelf actually. So this has been there for a long time. But now that actually RFID cost has come down, a lot of actually people, even in India, retailers have started using people such as like what you said, Decathlon or earlier, even in fact, some of the retailers also used it earlier. Titan has actually, ventured out quite a few times, in fact. So RFID is going to definitely be, be a boon to the industry, in fact.
Wonderful, wonderful insight. Thank you, Anil. So next, I would like to call on Anil Mishra. So you're with McVitie's. I mean, McVitie's is one of the brands which has become very famous and people know about it. It's there on the top of the mind. Okay. And it's the second largest biscuit manufacturer also in the world. So I mean, how do you use these intelligent systems to lower the cost per delivery? I mean, you will have to finally manage the cost also, along with the service. What systems are you using to get that efficient cost where people are happy about it?
In fact, Tapasvi, nowadays we are talking about the warehousing. It is not a warehousing, but we call it the smart warehousing.
Okay.
Where everything we can talk about all the different functions get collaborated and to work towards achieve the maximum efficiency in the warehouse. If we can talk about the cost, yes, every time the manager has to monitor the cost, how we can get optimized, and every time we have the pressure from the management, because the logistic is always have the low hanging things for everyone to reduce the cost. We have to see what are the things we can use. In fact, we can say it is both mix of your technology as well as the human intervention to reduce the cost. If you can talk about the warehouse, yes, when we can optimize the entire process of the warehouse, definitely it can give the leverage of the consolidation through the help of the TMS, transport management system, warehouse management system, to make the right picking, right thing, right consolidation, right route planning, so that it can give the long mileage. When if we can talk about both the side, where the service provider as well as customer, everyone needs the technology to make is to optimize the cost. Especially nowadays that the things are very fast, as Mr. Anil already said that the agility is a very key aspect. Yes, it is very true. If we are agile, definitely we can sustain in the market. Otherwise, we can go out. And for optimizing the cost, different IoT tool and artificial intelligence is giving and data analytics give the lot of things for us to think how we can optimize the route planning. And nowadays, the new concept aggregator of the aggregators are in the market. They also using the data analytics and big data analysis. Through that, we can optimize the per piece per kg cost in our system.
Right. So agility is coming up time and again from everyone. And as we told, all these
earlier the warehousing was happening at the escort of the city. Now, if you can see during the pandemic that most of the warehouse and the small hub are getting created nearby the city, within the city, along with for the supplying the different zones, so that how we can reduce the time as well as the cost to reach the customers. Like different model we have seen in the nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely right. As Rahul Padar also spoke in the beginning, he spoke about freight and getting the trucks easily. The transport market developing within there. Says the supplier comes in and you're in the logistics park. He has the reverse thought also, which he can map. If he is very efficient, even these service providers have to be efficient and agile, and they need to have that technology so that they can utilize this for the reverse pickup also. And in general, if this sharing of information happens between the companies which are there in the park itself, the principal companies, then we can go to these service providers and say, look, yes, we are making sure that you are getting a return load. So why not reduce the cost by at least 10 or 20% and share it among both the principal companies? So Rahul, your take on that?
Basically, in the just I can add on something, because in our logistic there is a two distance we normally cater: drop distance and the stream distance, which is main of the things when in the pandemic it is very important for us how we can optimize our entire supply chain cost. There is the main last mile leg is very important and having the major cost, so that we can serve the hyper local on demand deliveries in the lower cost.
Right. Yeah. Rahul?
See, the efficiencies, like I just like to, bring around a paradox here, because since I'm in procurement, what happens is that when you go and do your RFQs with the transporters, right, At that point of time, they are, uh, and this I'm talking in context of specifically logistics parks because most of them are recent happening, right? So when you move into a park, and let's say most of your service providers probably haven't experienced that market, so it's a journey. So in maybe in their first initial RFQs, they are making certain assumptions and they're not able to pass on. They quote a little conservatively to you, so the benefit is not that apparent. And hence, as a learning, what I have done is that at least for such kind of shifts, we kind of keep the tenure of the RFQs short because once they hit the market and they start benefiting, then once they have the cash in hand and then they are willing to start sharing it with you. And if your current service provider who has taken the business share is not, then maybe their competitor will start doing the same. So at least from a procurement point of view, this is the kind of cost efficiency I have seen. Now, of course, operationally, it completely depends upon the supply chain team and the warehouse operations team that are they able to respect the turnaround times which are being quoted. Now, that's a multi-dimensional issue. It's not only about your warehouse operation efficiency, and mostly in my experience, that's the least thing which affects detentions. Detentions often come only because of wrong planning. When you are trying to push too much into a warehouse, or you have got your numbers on demand completely wrong. So now that is a bigger problem, and warehouse park or a warehousing facility cannot do anything. It can just get filled and burst at its seams and nothing else.
Right. Absolutely correct.
Or you have a container choking happening right across the world, and then all containers come at the same time to Chennai port or Mumbai port, yeah. And then you have a line of actually a road train standing in front of the warehouse.
Yes, and labor not available, non-available.
Correct.
All these things add to the miseries, right?
I think I'd like to add, in my experience, earlier there was this discussion around automation. All of us are, some of us are representing quite a sizable MNCs here, and in our own professional experiences at this level of seniority, we would have witnessed our company's warehouses. I witnessed one in Malaysia, completely automated and all that. But, when you do those analysis, cost benefit analysis in India, these automations cannot be afforded by our supply chains right now because the value which consumer is willing to pay in India, it does not allow you to afford them, number one. Number two, do we really need it? Because at least till now, so we have labor. And all said and done, the amount of flexibility which you get with labor is not possible with automation. Now, do we need flexibility in India? You need, because anything can go wrong here. I mean, for Russia and Ukraine, it took them some 20, 30 years post-independence to come loggerheads and things to get coagulated. Here, next farmer stir, some election rally, this, that. So, an automation cannot handle this flexibility, the kind of volatility which Indian supply chain conditions still have. So, I feel that probably, one thing for sure which has happened good is the 3PL culture which has come in for warehouse service management. So now you have professionals there, you have your daily operational reviews, you are KPIs being monitored, safety, health, environment issues being monitored on daily basis in the warehouse. Also, I would like to mention, because in Nestle, it's not that we are MNC, so we only deal with brands and we are just infatuated with that. No. In fact, we deal with brands in only 1 or 2 warehouses. The most of the places we are working with local service providers. But the thing which we have experienced and which I would like to share is that these service providers also learn, right? If you're willing to invest time and energy with them, they also learn, and certain times, most of the time, they're actually able to do a much better job than sometimes the 3PLs we have, at least in the current state, because the bureaucracy is less, and of course their cost overheads are low. I mean no offense to any 3PL, but I'm just sharing an experience which is still valid. Probably my co-panelists can also reflect upon the same.
No,
Absolutely.
just to add, Rahul, actually, I think, I have found at least half a dozen landlords or, the landlords turned into professional 3PL or the building service providers, right? Particularly the warehouse service providers. They actually, prior to COVID, I have seen them every year attending at least 3 to 4 warehousing shows, technology shows abroad, actually. Germany, US, Japan, all of those things, actually. We have seen them actually going regularly and then visiting those places. And, particularly in, Gurgaon, Bangalore, Bhiwandi, and then, Chennai and all those places, these warehouse actually service providers, they have now taken their game up. And some of the second generation, actually, people are managing it, better than their parents and so on. So the service providers actually have come a long way in the last probably 10 years. I agree with you completely.
Yeah. So as Mr. Anil said, that I think the second generation, which is playing a substantial role, that they are also coming up. And as Mr. Rahul said, that as I'm just going to echo your statement that with ITC, Whirlpool and Reckitt, my experience is still 80% of the warehousing still we are using the traditional warehouses and the 3PL. And primarily that is two reasons. One is the flexibility and second is the cost. So still we are in India. So as Mr. Anil is talking about taking difference of fully RFID managed warehouses, at the same time, Mr. Anil, I'm sure that in India, you are not trying to copy paste most of such, high-end fancy warehouses, because the market, the consumer, end of the day, at what cost we are present in front of consumer is matter most. So there, I think still we need to get into that stage. So still they are playing a substantial important role, and we need to bridge that gap, because cost is still is an element which is high in terms of if we are getting into a logistics park or shared services. So still that need to address perhaps.
Because until and unless the labor cost becomes very expensive, till then there's still a thought process, a trade-off between automation and then do we really need it? That thought will still be there. Maybe for the next 10 years, if the labor cost remains cheap. So that's one of the things. So I just wanted to ask, Anil, because you have a lot of voluminous business, right, for Max. So do you think the slow-moving goods, say you have big data analysis, you go with big data analysis and you get all the analytics, and then finally you say that you will have to have different warehouses for slow-moving goods, ship them out, which come at a lesser cost, and have agile and advanced technological warehouses for fast-moving goods? Should we look at that kind of bifurcations?
I'm not sure, because see, how I can answer this question is actually, I used to be one of the, probably subject matter experts, or even now, in fact, around slotting optimization within the warehouse itself, working for a company called Manhattan Associates, who are probably the leaders in slotting optimization, which is in let's say a 1 lakh square feet warehouse or a 2 lakh square feet warehouse. Where do you place the fast moving, items versus slow moving items? Where do you put actually the, some of the, fire, risk impact articles, versus the normal, general merchandise and so on. So these are all some of the things of what we dealt with, the likes of actually the Walmart and so on, right? So I don't think there is actually going to be any situation for particularly an apparel retailer, or even for that matter, in fact, an FMCG company where, again, I've had the, probably the experience of working with the Reshaping cases and then also the levers of the world, actually, even abroad. I don't think you will be able to differentiate or distinguish actually between fast movers warehouse space versus slow movers warehouse space in some sense. Having said that, working for actually, the largest retailer in Australia and New Zealand, Woolworths, actually, that we call them Woolies, actually, right? So Woolworths, in fact, I used to work as a program manager. We actually had a national warehouse for slow moving goods. We had regional warehouses where fast moving goods and the medium actually movers were there. National warehouse was there mainly for, we didn't want to hold the space actually of the regional warehouses, 8 of them, with actually blocked with some of these, slow moving ones. So people have used it in the past, but I think the very context is changing right now, Tapasvi, mainly because, as you know, mind to market timeline has shrunk like never before. What was 120 days, 150 days, 180 days actually of our farm to, skin kind of a situation now has come down to 23 days or 30 days actually. I mean, if you look at the way Zara actually does their supply chain, in fact, with not even a single warehouse in the country, all airlifting and then, through air cargos and all that, it's actually a different perspective altogether. So I think the definition of actually slow mover itself has changed right now, because once again, I always say in retail, my customer is that lady with a smartphone. I mean, it is not, she is not the king. She is a queen actually. For us, the customer is a queen, right? She doesn't have patience. She wants it now. She wants it yesterday, right? So the very fact of slow moving goods, I think that definition has changed now. And I think it's going to continue to change. Therefore, the very, the discussion of can we have a, space for slow moving goods versus fast moving goods, I think that itself is becoming little thin right now. But having said that, you will benefit big time if you do a proper slotting optimization and kind of have the fast movers actually in the front of the warehouse towards closer to the dock doors and so on. Yeah. You will definitely gain a lot of actually productivity gains, and your trips to the local stores, at least from the local warehouses, will be much quicker. In fact, your replenishment times will come down, because in our case also we have found there is a store in the commercial street in Bangalore. I do 3 replenishments actually a day to that store. My kapda, I've never done that in my entire life actually anywhere in the world. I mean, kapda is almost like actually a weekly twice or weekly once, replenishment kind of a thing. But there are stores actually in Max, I need to do multiple replenishments in a single day. That means the velocity of the product is so high, it is almost becoming like a banana, bread and Coke actually in the supermarket context. So that way, some of those fast movers, you need to actually have a differential treatment. But warehouse, I don't think actually there'll be probably, in fact, a case for establishing an entirely fast moving warehouse.
Okay, wonderful.
So I'll add 30 seconds on this subject. So it is not a warehousing, it's maybe as a distribution strategy we are working out. So for us, what we are doing, we are basis on the velocity and variability study. Correct. We are not sending the material out of my plant warehouse. So the parts of the slow moving or the, the C class SKU, which like, I'm not very sure that how much going to sell. We are trying to consolidate in one place, and that stock is available pan India. And now the farthest location also we can reach if depending on the need of the customer, even overnight. So I'm trying to use the same material in one place, and it is available for pan India, where I'm not very sure that what will be the sales pattern of that at the last mile. So that way we are trying to work out in our current organization.
Understood. So Anil, have the warehousing space increased post-COVID for Century Ply? How has it been? I mean, near to the market,
a certain extent, but that is mostly in raw material and in the plants. Because again, still the strategy is that since we know very sure that we can reach that transit time is reduced heavily with the improvement of the road condition, we are trying to store more of raw material, critical raw material, and in a semi-finished range, not in the finished product into the last mile.
In fact, Tapasvi, I would like to make a controversial statement. COVID should have really taught us to reduce the warehouse space, because the velocity has increased, because actually the agility has increased, right? So if we really change our frame of mind, I think we can actually do wonderful stuff.
Yeah, that's right. COVID
maybe
has
that
lot
is
of
the
things
industry to
positive as well
industry.
as if you see again the ocean freights going up and hitting the roof. Now we'll have to think whether to store the material or we have to get it, time and again. That is what we have to think about. So that is where again the warehousing space goes up. The need for the warehousing goes up also. So it all mixed. It's mixed. I mean, this Russia thing coming in, the ocean freights going up. Okay, a lot of people coming in, and sustainability is one which is driving everyone. All the companies are looking at sustainability. How sustainable your warehouse is. What are the practices, best practices you're putting in place? The solar panels, the energy consumption. So all these things also play a major role in selecting the warehouse or increasing the space. So all these things play a major role. Thank you. It's been a wonderful discussion with all of you, very engaging, and the topics have been, people spoke very in detail so that the public can understand, the people can understand how the industry is working in the respective industries, in the respective organizations. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So,
Yeah, in fact,
Sanjay, do you
I
have
want to add some point over here because as every industry has their own nature, but in the fast moving goods like retail might be sometime it is based on the velocity, but as we are in the food industry, considering those days where you have the uncertainty, you don't know when your plant is going to shut down. That those has already give your visibility for the over the period how we can going to support to the business as well as society. That time definitely we also had the increase the warehouses at the multiple location to holding the stock, and that time it was not clear what is there is no forecast you are going to effectively use. That time it is based on the dynamic demand. We are producing based on the dynamic demand as well as we are catering and keeping the stock nearby that particular region to serve that particular market.
yes. So those disruptions are going to be there where we can't forecast. Absolutely. Thank you everyone. So Anil, if you have any questions, Namrata, Anil, if there are any questions for the audience, have they posed any questions? Priyanka?
Yeah, Tapasvi.
Yes, Priyanka, any questions?
No. Now we have exciting questions from the audience. So first question is from Mr. Sunny Kumar. He is asking, where do max investments in warehousing happen?
Where do max investments in warehousing happen? So Rahul, would you like to take that question? If you have.
I can tell you max investments can happen anywhere, wherever legally land is available with ease. So there's a huge amount of money flowing in with 3PLs. Blackstone has taken billions of dollars of bet on India. But I mean, giving a more specific answer to this. So, the usual states which have a investor-friendly governance and laws like Haryana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. As of now, at least in my experience, I have seen that the investments are flowing there, not because investors want to go there, but I mean, they are able to do transactions there. A huge amount of us want to go and do something in eastern parts of our country, but they continue to be non-supportive. I just speak out of my experience because we are trying to come into modern infrastructure in our 29 warehouses across India. And in that experience, I'm qualifying this statement.
Whose money also is important. Who's spending the money? Is it, FIIs, then it's a different ball game. Local guy is different. Tech guy is different, actually. So I think there's a money spent right across the gamut, like Rahul said.
Absolutely. Correct. Yes, Priyanka. Next one.
So next is from Mr. Manoj. He's asking, what is the future of warehousing according to you?
Well, that is what we spoke about, actually.
Very bright.
I have to add over here, the future of the warehousing and logistics is very bright. If you can see that the government policies and the government is also giving the industrial status to them, and already there is in the Ministry of the Commerce, there is the logistics that policy is already draft, and it is going to roll out across the country. And due to this global investment, that logistics and warehousing is going up.
Correct, absolutely. Even the government has announced almost 25,000 kilometers of new highways, and there are 100 new cargo terminals which are going to come up.
Yes.
Right. Yes, Priyanka.
Yeah, that's all we have the question today.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I request everyone to please smile so that we can take this.
Done?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, leaders, for this discussion. I'm sure that the attendees would have gained insights to make their roadmap for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, leaders. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Moving further, we have another panel for the day, and the topic is driving resilience and efficiency in warehousing. Today, 100 plus CXOs and 300 plus attendees are watching this live on our website. Here I call the moderator, Mr. Amit Arora from ACC Limited, Vijay Kumar Gupta from Chettinad Cement, Subrat Sahu from JSW Steel, Dr. Sanjay Gupta from Adani, and Mr. Brendra Kumar from Dalmia Cement. I request Mr. Amit to start the discussion.
A very warm welcome to all the attendees, and thanks to the organizer for giving us an opportunity to share our views and experience on a very relevant topic, driving resilience and efficiency in warehousing. Warehouses are a complex operation with many integrated parts, and a lot of functions happen simultaneously. So while there are plenty of areas to improve warehouse productivity, the crux lies in identifying them and taking action on them. So most of the warehouse operations on the ongoing basis keep on evolving and maximize productivity by optimizing workflows, automating processes, and reducing waste. So advances in logistics technology, such as automated robots, have a very high impact on the warehouse productivity, along with innovative AI and machine learning solutions, sophisticated warehouse management software, and other technology solutions. So with that background, I introduce to all of you a very esteemed panel, Mr. Vijay Kumar Gupta, who's VP Supply Chain and Logistics from Chettinad Cement, Mr. Subrat Sahu, Unit Head, Integrated Steel Plant, JSW Steel, myself, Amit Arora, GM Manufacturing from ACC Limited, Mr. Sanjay Gupta, Head of Techno-Commercial Logistics, Adani Ports and SEZ, Brendra Kumar, Head of Sales and Operation Planning at Dalmia Cement. So I would welcome all the members of the esteemed panel. Starting with Mr. Subrat Sahu, I would request him to share insights from his experience and also share his views on the emerging trends in warehousing.
It seems Subrat has not joined, probably, right?
Yeah. So would request Sanjay Gupta ji from Adani Ports and SEZ to share his insights from the experience he had with Adani Ports, and also share his insights on the emerging trends in warehousing.
Thank you, panel. This is Sanjay Gupta. I take care. I'm a Chief Procurement Officer of Adani Port and ALL, one of the most reputed company in India, one of the most profitable company in the India, and one of the most reputed company in the world. And you can understand we have now wider spectrum. We have a more than 19 locations at the port level. Not only from the India, we have now spread in the Australia, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. So you can say that more than 40% of the India stall capacity is now utilized by the Adani. We have also a listed company. It is going to be listed very soon, Adani Logistics and Adani Agri Logistics. It's a dedicated logistics company. And also we are now starting a very big way in the warehousing. I think in the last panel, the people are having a spectrum view of the how to utilize the warehousing or the what is the warehousing. But we have a service provider of the warehousing. You can understand right now we are planning to invest 7.5 million square feet warehousing in coming 3 years in the 25 location, and all covered the metro cities and the industrial zone. We have already invested more than 35,000 crore in a coming planning year, and we have already taken more than 3,500 hectares land in the superb city like a metro city or the super metro city. We want to become a integrated service provider, not only from the warehousing. We want to have a multi-model integrated service provider wherein we have a container warehousing, bulk warehousing, break bulk warehousing, liquid warehousing, auto car warehousing, and the grain silos. You can understand all the farmers' education is going to be putting a silos around one silo catering more than 50,000 ton at that more than 13 location. So it is again a big way of the warehousing with the complete mechanized technology. We're also putting a technological park, grain silos, warehousing business in a big way, air freight stations, We are also not only in the port, we are also integrated rail company. We have our more than 900-kilometer rail inside of the port, also outside of the port. We have our own more than 100 railway racks. So with racks is not only there, with the container racks, which is a box and HL with a big racks, and also we are starting the working with the transportation of the auto car racks. And our routes are already starting double containers. So our one rack is carrying more than 360 containers in a one rack. And our ports are transport more than 45,000 TEUs in the every month from the current market, and which is shifted to the more than 150,000 TEUs in the month. We have more than 12 ICDs also warehousing business. So I have introduced the concept of the integrated warehousing, how to be work end to end. We are also making a trucking company and a multimodal transport company, not only from the warehousing from the road side, rail side, also from the sea side. We are already a first company in India which is starting the waterways from the Varanasi to the eastern part, the Bangladesh, even the Calcutta and Haldia and all. So that is the basic understanding of the Adani Port and SEZ, and I take care of the entire gamut of the supply chain, a capex of more than 10,000 crore per annum, and the entire 95 locations. So you can understand the wider spectrum of the warehousing. And we have warehouse for the Maruti. We have warehouse in all the top company, Flipkart, Amazon, and other Toyotas. So entire supply chain, not only the supply chain, the reverse supply chain also maintained by the Adani for the Maruti, for the Toyota, for the Hyundais, from a lot of BASF, other chemical manufacturing, Asian Paints. And now we have already joined hand with the Amazon and the Flipkart to putting the warehousing for the entire national level. So that is the blueprint of the Adani Group. Thank you.
Now, I would thank you, sir, for I think a lot of valuable insights. I would request Mr. Birendra to share his insights from his experience at Dalmia, and also share his views on the next level of planning for warehousing.
Okay, thanks, Amit, for the chance, and thanks, Eldon, also for putting up a chance to speak out here. So what we're discussing out here is in terms of what is the next level of warehousing, and if you see some of the emerging sector which is coming up, especially the retail sector, which is much more emerging, and if you see the warehousing technology or efficiency, or even the resilience which has happened, during the pandemic, which is supposed to be the best one. But I will start with the Dalmia, and it's more of a warehousing practices, which is very common, and I would say it's not all the cement companies or even the commodities company which probably following up warehousing practices may not match as far as it goes with FMCG, or as far as it goes to e-retailing companies. Yeah. So mostly in cement sector, the storage will be block storage kind of stuff, and wherein you have a large kind of storage on a stacking patterns and all those things. Probably it's a very, very kind of simplistic structure. But if I talk my experience with ITC, where we have a different kind of structure in terms of entire warehousing concept, right from manual operation to semi-automatic to ASRS, and even to kind of entire pattern of SKUs, which we used to keep it different kind of racking system, whether it's a manual SPRS racking system to ASRS system, it is called automatic storage and retrieval kind of system. So it gives a lot of efficiency, and not only warehousing is it's basically a place where you keep the inventory. So when you talk about inventory, one thing is very, very important, that it is a point of basically demand fulfillment, right? So from there, if you are trying to dispatch certain consignment, it has to be without error. That's very, very important, because you are doing a huge number of transactions during the day. Number of transactions are very, very high. It has to be error free. It has to be operationally very efficient. So that way, the layout is very important for any warehouse. right? So I would say that is very, very important. Even Gupta sir has talked about in terms of selection of warehouse in number of places and all these things based on the kind of business you have. But apart from that, when you go at a micro level, the first thing is the design of the warehouse. It's very, very important. How you have designed your warehouse based on the kind of operation which you're going to handle it. So it's very important that you should be understanding, you should have that understanding that what kind of operation you're going to handle it, what is the product type you're going to handle it, So whether, if you go to, let's say, if I have to handle very small spares, so if you some of the companies, they have the carousel systems, right? So it's a vertical kind of storage which you have it, and within that you can have a huge kind of efficiency which you have it. Normally it happens at a small spare which you keep it at a plant level, and if you are keep it doing at a carousel level, your carousel is a kind of system which you can keep storage of such spares, then it's a huge kind of efficiency you can get it. But if you have a, let's say, palletized system, so which kind of bin type you will select, whether it's a single palletized rake system, or it's a double bin system, or it's a raking through system. So there's I would say that based on the kind of storage you want to keep it, you have to have you should be knowing that what kind of system which you're going to. There are put in pick away system, there's a put in light system, a lot of systems which is there which has come into warehousing system, right? And not only this, this entire physical system is also integrated with the software, right? Whether we talk about the warehousing management system, or whether we talk about any such AI based system which normally happened at at retailer warehousing. So that we need to be very, very sure about it. What kind of product we are handling, what is the kind of operations which we are looking at, number of operations actually, which we are trying to number of transaction actually which are trying to handle it during the day, or during per hour, how many transactions which will happen. So based on that, entire systems is being designed, it is being implemented, and it is being executed across company. So next level is obviously more of a design, more of engineering, more of a system driven, more of AI driven, more of automated driven. I would say many companies, they have automatic conveyors. You might have also heard about automated guided vehicle, right? So many in China and all, they also have AGVs, small AGVs, which is running on the floor, on the tracks, with runs on the software, which run on AI systems. So which is yet to come in India, but yes, I would say that the future for warehousing system is very great, and it will go through a great change, I would say, in terms of automation. Yeah. So that is what, Amit, I have to say about emerging pattern of warehouse which will come in time to come. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Birendraji. I think you captured it very well and holistically. So now I would request Mr. Vijay Kumar Gupta from Chettinad Cements to share his insights from his experience at Chettinad, and also share his views on ingredients of successful warehousing automation.
Good evening, sir. I am heading the Chettinad Cement, and now, sir, we are having 9 plants all over India, and this year, sir, now about 30 to 35% material is moving through only through warehousing, because it is through dealer, plant to warehouse, warehouse to dealer. Earlier, sir, we are having a earlier big warehouse, about 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. But now many generated during the last pandemic due to business opportunities. So we are reaching to the small village, small town also. Last year till before pandemic, we are having about 200 warehouse. Now we are having about 300 warehouse, from 100 ton capacity to 150 ton capacity. So it will help us to sustain. also reduce our earlier our lead distance was about 60 kilometers from where now we come to reduce this 40 kilometers, 40 to 30 kilometers. So it will help us to 200 rupees saving per ton in secondary cost. Now we are also utilizing railway siding as a 100 railway siding we are using as a railway transportation. So many places, central warehouse, like big cities, central warehouse is providing the storage space for per ton charges based on railway siding. So our earlier it was long distance, nearer distance. So in cement industry, without warehouse, not sustainable. So if any of trade dealer is required now, there is a patience very less. Dealer is no patience. If your dealer will not get within 3 or 4 hours SMS against invoice, he will change the order. So slowly, next year our plan is there. Again, these two C grade city to increase the 100 warehouse, 100 small capacity. Whenever the rickshaw floor can the delivery our material to nearby. So our patience time decreases. So whenever the challenges, price is changes anytime or customer get any benefit, immediately order is changes to computer. So now in cement industry, warehousing is a major challenges, and we are moving to small warehouse to nearby where the customer is need. This is the way we are facing the cement industry.
Thank you, sir. I think even due to connection issues, you still put your point really well. I would request Sanjay Gupta, sir, to share his views on digital innovation in supply chain and also touching the dots in warehousing particularly. So we would like to hear from you, your experiences. Yes. Sir, you are on mute.
Can say the automation and the AI uses or the technology is the pace of the Adani Group. We have our Guru Mantra is the CTC, courage, trust and commitment. And where the courage and trust coming when you applied your open mind to do for innovation. You can understand, I just have an idea, just if you see the trophy just in front of me, just I get it from another meeting. We have one of the biggest company in the world who can have a Ariba automation in a 6 months. We have more than 16,000 SAP users. And you can understand the supply chain of the Adani, we have a 750, the techno-commercial, the purchase team of the people are 750 people. And you can understand the integration. How does it work? It does it work with the data automation, the process governance, risk mitigation plan. We have arranged more than, you can understand, the 35,000 purchase order in a year, and more than 18 lakhs are invoicing also there. So how do we control by the manual system? How do we accuracy level? We have used a world best technology. We have used the RPA. We have used the RPA for our procurement, even our 99.99% accuracy, the comparative statement or our note for approval or the SAP automation is completely done by the machine. And not only this, we have a robotic systems who can verify our invoices, and you can understand the 99.99% the invoices. And you can understand how to be supply chain work and how to be efficient supply chain. Supply chain, when you connected the all things in a very micro level, then you can even, you can understand we have done a reverse auction for our 80 or 85% cases. And we have now developed a technology when we can understand the behavioral pattern of the bidder or the auctioneer. How, suppose I did the action and how have a data available with me, the such bidders have a brain mapping of they have work on the how to. So this type of mapping we have done in our system. You can understand this year in the pandemic year where the entire world are suffering with the high cost of the commodity. Still, we have achieved more than 6% of our spend through a strategic relationship, strategic sourcing, data invention, machine learning. So all the, whatever is required, we have adopted it, we practically do it. As far as the warehousing automation concern, you can understand we have service provider and we make the micro analysis of the each warehousing. Even it is a high-rise building or a high metal equipment are using, or the data is generated through the micro level with the machine learning, which is the client is taking the warehousing, what type of warehouse, what type of lead it is, what type of value proposition is given, what type of business we have adopted, because we have a multi. So that all the technology or uses of the technology and open mindset, when you using the technology adoption, you can use your mindset and you give the proper training to the user. Ultimately, and what we did, we have done a research at the micro level for our one of the best organizations like a Corn Ferry or the Deloitte, and what type of people are required in supply chain. We have a company now, we have not identified people, and we strategize one of the strategized role, which is the operational role, or one of the leadership role. For this role, we have make a minimum qualification standard, minimum ability standard, minimum professional standard, minimum behavioral standard. How to become, they deal with the leadership style, how to deal with the complexity, how we deal with the resilience. So this type of mindset we develop. So we work for all the resource level, automation level, work level, then logistics, how to be microly analyze the cost of the each event and which is the most successful. While we are placing any of the orders or any other process or any other contract, now we have moved with the outsourcing contract. We have moved with the various big project with the EPC mode. We have also done, so whatever we do, we've done a micro analysis of the FVN and always work for the TCO basis. So this is a successful mantra of the Adani Group. You can understand every year we have a placing of purchase order by the 50,000 crore. You can understand the volume and these things, and our installed capacity in port is also 400 million ton, and all type of automation and storage medias. You can understand we can cater a 20 million ton food grains in our side. We can cater the 5 million ton of the fertilizer. We can cater the sugar. We can cater the, even you can understand your vaccine. Right now, your vaccine transportation, 50% vaccine transport by Adani Group is a coal traction. So if you precisely take advantage, you can understand the automation. Earlier, the DFCC working in the single lane and the 180 containers are moved. Now we can increase the height and we can increase the capacity of the trains. Now 100 ton trains are available, then we can increase the productivity. Now the same train is catering the 180 U's, now is cater even the 360 caters. We change the entire railway system. Earlier the railway steel is based on the ST52 or the high steel, but now our wagons are developed by the standard steels or the aluminum steel. So that type of change we have made in the system. Even the car, earlier the car is carried by the simple process of the containers. Now we have developed a tier 1, tier 2, tier T. The car is developed with a 3 layer. This is a hydraulic system. The car is transport, even the 3 cars in a similar. So earlier the car which is carrying around 240 numbers, now is transferred by the 380 number. So this type of automation, technology governance system, how to be enlarge our capex, how to be develop a mindset to give the total automized system to the ultimate consumer level. Otherwise, and how to be advantage of the process, governance, automation. This is the mantra of the Adani.
Thank you, sir. I think you shared rich experience and I think insights for a lot of industry members to learn and adopt. Next, I would request Birendra ji to share his views on how to use the intelligent systems to lower the cost of delivery in the supply chain and warehousing context.
Okay. Okay. Once again, I think Amit, what Sanjay ji has talked about quite extensively in terms of technology, and now what is happening is that physical process, how the digital and physical process is getting merged, right? So previously, whatever the physical process which was happening, so now they are trying to marry with the digital process. Okay.
Yeah. New term is phygital.
Yes.
The new term is
yes. So new term is phygital. So how the both physical and digital can match based on the company needs and requirement and the kind of product which you are handling and how much company can go about it, because that's one of the great requirement which which we had during pandemic situation, where the digital mode has much more increased, because without touching and feeling, you need to do a lot of activities, right? So, and that way, the digital has moved a lot during this last 2-year pandemic. So I would say that, there's a lot of system which I can talk about, and which I will, like previously we have a block storage, then it came ASRS, right? Then the next phase has come as automated guided vehicle. Then next phase has come, automated, mobile robots, which we can see in a lot of European countries, even Japan and China, you have in warehouses. Then you have, pick to light, and put to light systems in the warehousing systems. Also now, a lot of things is a voice kind of picking. You just talk and the system will, record that voice, just like, Google. You can see that, how to do voice picking and tasking systems. And then finally, in the more which we can talk in the sortation part, which is also, which is being automated at a warehouse pattern. So I would say that, a lot of things has gone into industry in terms of warehousing, because the efficiency of warehouse depends upon, a lot of digital initiative which has come in, right? A lot of physical process which we had, which used to take a lot of time, which has been solved. A lot of error which used to happen. You have, from manual system, counting and all. If you remember the days some years back, there used to be physical counting. Then what it has come, you have if your consignment or the packing is having the RFID, or even the bar scanners, if you consignments are with barcode scanner, you can scan it. So normally, initially you can see, some of the stores, some of the big hyper store, you could have see people, walking with some handheld devices. They do that physical stock verification with those handheld devices systems, right? So, and then it came RFID, those tags. So system can automatically deplete the stocks and inflate the stocks once you take a GR all the systems. So so what is happening is a lot of automation has come, and which has also reduced the toil from the physical toil of the people. And also a lot of issues happen is to especially when we have excise thing in terms of stock verification, especially some of the companies like in ITC, it's a huge kind of systems, where excise, you cannot have mismatch at all, because you are paying excise duty, and the excise inspector is right in front of you. They're sitting at your location in your factory, right? So any mismatch, they can just stop your operations. Okay, so with those kind of complexities, we have come to a level now where the automated or the digital system has quite simplified things. Those errors which used to be there now, you have RFID system, you have barcode system. So automatically things are happening. Once it passes through a station, it will pick, entire barcoding will happen, and so it will exactly show whether the consignment which I want to loading is correct or not. So each truck, whatever is going, it's a totally correct. So invoicing error is almost what Sanjay sir is saying, that 99.9% is perfectly fine nowadays. We don't have to bother about it. Previously, that used to be a great concern actually. What you're sending to customer, whether it's going right or not. Probably all of us experienced, what Amazon deliveries. I have never seen any kind of error. Whatever the product I have ordered, it is coming that product only, right? So I think despite the huge number of transactions which Amazon probably is doing from their demand fulfillment center, I think their system of tracking, their system of delivery is totally digital, right? Whether it has delivered to the right person, right? So that also has become so maker checker kind of thing, that it cannot go to the wrong person, right? So rightly Amit is told that physical. So we are living in the era of that, where physical process is now well married with the digital process, and it has brought a lot of efficiency. A lot of such shortcomings which used to be have in the manual process have taken off, and it will go. It will further increase and enhance the process and efficiency of the system. Yeah,
I think I cannot agree anymore. You captured, I think, really well, and it's a need of ours to basically move our physical processes also to a digital landscape wherein it's giving you much more control and mileage and improve the efficiency as well. So
yeah.
next, I would go to Mr. Vijay Gupta and ask him to share his insights on what kind of roadmap we should prepare to transform our warehouses to smart warehouses and improve our supply chain efficiency.
Now, sir, when after order generation, all track order from order to delivery 100% digitalization. At the time of in our plant, when order is reported automatically digitalization, parties get the message that your truck is placed in the plant. When we generate the delivery order slip within the plant, RFID card intimated to every step and recorded there. At the time of when our packer truck is loading in the packing plant, automatically price, MRP, etc., everything is changes automatically through RFID card. After invoicing, now email and invoicing is also automatic. Every data is captured through system. So very low manual intervention. When the truck comes to get out, again it is an intimation to the dealer as well sales officer. Your truck is coming out gated. And now all our portal, dealer portal is attached with our SAP. So dealer can also tracking their truck through PIS. So earlier he held all information regarding truck driver number, mobile number, and he can use his mobile number, where is my truck is going on, moving on. So, and due to this help us, if dealer is required change of delivery place or change of delivery urgency, he can divert the truck to the driver. Sir, I need this material in this. After delivery, the trucks, again OTP based delivery is there. So dealer will get the OTP. He has to put their OTP. So automatically delivery POD will be EPOD. So this change is there. So EPOD is also linked with our payment credit. So dealer, no payment dispute, no other delivery, third party delivery or any other error is happening. Earlier, cement industry totally manually received some material may be delivered to other one, no signature authority cases is there. So now this is helpful to us. Now our all warehousing from plant to also tracking and real-time invoicing. Earlier, in cement industry, invoice material was delivered based on challan, now taking 3 days, 5 days for billing. Now it is a real time. So when the material is moved from plant, it is recorded on real-time basis and all steps accounted everywhere through GPI and RFID card. From warehouse to dealer, same again, it is through electronically. So parties receiving physical invoice as well as e-invoice also. So he is tracking their material and transparency to what is happening in our business and trade. So this will also help our internal departments like sales account, purchase. So all department is coordinated well into from P2P basis. This is what we are doing now. Now cement industry we are seeing earlier, now labor cost is too much increased. So earlier our labor charges was 60, 70 rupees per ton. Now it is close 100 rupees. So due to this, we are reaching to each location, small warehouses we want to open. Because the dealer is taking 5 ton, 10 ton delivery in cement industry. So we are reaching each small city, 100 ton, 1 truck, 2 truck stocking we are keeping is there to sustain in the industry. So this is our changes we are adopting in cement industry.
I think, thank you, sir, for capturing, I think it's in a holistic manner. So I would thank all the panel members to basically have shared their inputs. Now we are open for questions. So I think we would request the audience, if they have questions on what we have shared and they want to know more, I think we would be happy to answer all those questions.
So the first question is how to balance resilience and efficiency in a warehouse.
So any of the panel member who would like to take it?
Yeah. Again, technology, the utilization of effectiveness, utilization of best material equipment, value proposition of the product, low exit product, how exit product, and highly automized, highly mechanical equipment and productivity. This is the guru mantra to get it, and the entire world are doing this way. Na? You can understand the China GDP is $18.5 trillion, where in the warehousing business is $2.3 billion, where in the India is only, so India is a potential to rise by 13 or 14% per year. Where still we are doing the manual work, like in a my other co-panel member, we are doing our like in a manual counting or RFID are there, or the tagging system also there. So now the technology even driven like in a we have put it a scanner system or the counter system, even railway racks. So entire railway racks without taking any payment, the systems are calculated. So how you use the effectiveness of technology, it is the answer. Use of technology, proper mindset, proper value proposition to the customer as well as the metal equipment, rental equipment, low space warehousing, heighting warehousing. That is the guru mantra to success of the and resilience to get it to succeed.
Yes.
Right, I completely agree what Sanjay is telling, that technology is the answer to all such efficiency. If you want to really become efficient enough, you have to bring a digital process rather than physical process, which was happening, and a lot of error which used to happen, you can just eliminate it by 99.9% almost. So that is the answer to the question which was probably told. Yeah.
Yeah, so next question is from Mr. Manoj. He's asking what you should consider while reshaping a warehouse.
What are you saying? Reshaping.
Should I repeat?
Yeah,
Reshaping. He's talking about value shaping.
The question is what you should consider while reshaping a warehouse.
Reshaping. Okay.
Okay. So one is first of all you should understand what is the product line which you wanted to product which you are going to do the business out there, and second is what is the volume you are going to basically execute. So that's very important to factor, and then you can design and obviously automation is required, right? With the kind of project cost which you want to handle it, whether you want a low cost automation, whether you want a high cost automation. So based on that, if it's a very high value item which you are going to execute through your warehouse, obviously you don't want any error, so you have to go by the digital mode only, right? So you have to understand the kind of gravity of the business, the product, the size, the volume, the cost, everything before trying to set up or reshape your warehousing, reorient your warehouse accordingly. That is my view, for the question which was asked actually.
Yeah. So one insight I would like to take from Sanjay sir regarding there were a lot of disruptions in the ocean freight movement, and also there was a kind of increase in these freights in last 2 years. So would you like to share like how to tackle it and what you have done to curtail that impact?
So I have a lot of other, you can have one Adani, the complete solution of the supply chain. We have our own shipping company, we have our own ports, we have owned the railway line, we have owned the country. So that is the perception of Adani. So we don't have any problem with that, but ultimately we have a service provider. So what is the reason of this increasing of the container? Because you can understand the COVID, a lot of the crew members are required to stay when they reaching any port, they have required to stay 15 days or 20 days. So medical emergency care, it is a crew shortage of the crew. Second is the shortage of the containers. So it's the biggest problem because you can understand around 40% business are done by the bulk and rather the other 60% business are done by the containers. And there is a massive shortage of the container because you can understand every company have a residual life of the containers and what has happened in the world level when the container life due to high complex non-productivity, the high due to increase of inflation, the companies are not generate the container lines and the shipping line having a massive shortage of the containers. You can understand I can share the data. The Masak and the other shipping line are earn the profit of the $32 billion, which is the more than 100-year generation. So this you can understand why the people are increasing the freight. And again, the third thing, the monopoly. So what we do, the most of the company, those are import or export the business, they must make their own container line. What we do, we have developed, like I have said, this is the model of some containers are lying in front of it. As Adani, now we develop more than 6,000 containers in our own. And where we have failed a problem to export or the import, we are using our own container. Or so you can develop the containers on your own as well as you have a long-term contract with the shipping line. And sometime what happens when you do the parcel of the next day, month or next week, your shipping company is charging a very high amount. So making again warehousing giving some contribution, you put some moral inventory because right now the inventory carrying cost is come down by the earlier it is 18%, right now it comes by the 9 to 10% because the financial cost is low. And freight is increased by 300%. So you can compare with the stocking cost as well as the freight cost. So while you take it a shipment, you do it a bigger quantity, what you want, forget the economic quantity. Earlier world is working for the EOQ basis, but now the world is working for the bigger quantity. Because when you do the transportation of the bigger quantity, you can have achieved the, if you ship the 250 container or if you see the LCL, the freight difference would be the 600% or 900%. So make it a better planning, make it even a lot of finance is available with the world market. You put it a good amount in the, when you handle with the, there is a open LCs are available, where the nuisance LC also available. So make it your balance sheet in a very good way, then make it a good credit worthy relationship with your external partner or the internal partner. Make a big quantity of bulk because you cannot control the external world. If you are a bigger size, you make it a long-term relationship, a long-term contract with the shipping line. You make it a long-term, then don't hurry for the shipment. You make it some clearance of the timeline. If you definitely put it as good planning, then you can achieve even reduction of the 40 or 40% in the freight. So this is a guru mantra. Micro things are already available, but I am talking the general perception of the world. So if the people can, the supply chain can optimize in the, here the optimize in the positive optimize, not negative optimize. You can generate your requirement for 6 months, rather if you go for earlier 2 months or 3 months. So you can save a big amount in terms of the volume consolidation, in terms of the freight consolidation, and in terms of the credit consolidation. So that will give you a lot of benefits to the supply chain professionals.
Next, I would like to learn from Mr. Birendra. So if you see cement as a commodity, it's basically very, very transport intensive, cost intensive in terms of logistics cost. So definitely sales and operation planning is, I think, one of the lever that helps to reduce this cost. So what are the key levers inside the entire process that should be taken up or that you have taken up to optimize this costs?
You're right, Amit. So there are two ways we have looked into it. One is which Mr. Gupta was talking, the depot optimization, right? Basically, you are trying to locate the depot in terms of reducing the secondary lead actually, right? And also trying to see where exactly the volume concentrations are there. So accordingly, you do a depot optimization. So you run optimizer, you know, through there are many companies which provides that optimizer, solution to it. So that way we have done one solution is that. Second is that supply chain optimization, basically distribution network planning, right? So that also you can do optimization through two ways in terms of source and mode mix optimization. So these are the things which we are trying to do in terms of cost saving initiative through the overall planning perspective, I would say. So these are the major macro activities which we do in terms of doing that. And also recently, we also trying to see, previously we have taken in terms of more warehousing space. So now we are neutralizing those things and trying to see where we can do a right sizing kind of stuff. Because if you are increasing the efficiency of the system, obviously you don't need much of the space, right? So when your system efficiency increases, when the reliability of the system increases, when the supply side reliability you are much more confident of, then what you do, inventory, it's basically blockage of your working capital. So what you do is you right size your warehouses and properly located so that your secondary lead decreases, and finally the secondary cost which we are bearing in, right? So these are the things which we are trying to do it. And obviously the volume optimization at the plant level in terms of that is also very important, because that way you are trying to cut down the fixed cost at the plant level. And also if you are running the mill, if you are doing a lot of capacity utilization, if you are increasing, then what is happening is your variable cost is also coming down. So the entire gamut is basically how to increase the contribution part. And one is through reducing the cost, and second is through logistics. At the manufacturing also you can do it. And third thing is where exactly you are getting more sales price actually. So these are three ways you are looking into at the umbrella of sales and operations planning. So these are three levers you play upon, in terms of enhancing the basically top line as well as the bottom line actually.
My question to Vijay sir is about, see, a customer is looking for that delivery should be made as fast as possible. He wants to basically get the requirements met on time in full. So which is a good way to approach the entire challenge with the supply chain is like you keep it responsive, but that leads to increase in the cost. So economies of scale versus responsiveness. So what's your take and view on this?
Now, sir, customer, we are at the customer positive. Now, in a cluster, about 30 to 40 cement plants in each pan-India basis. If you take now complete customer is a god for all company. So when we are discussing with customer, now that customer is saying, sir, other company will 3 hours, 4 hours, or why you are taking 8 hours, 9 hours. But otherwise all our manually loading is there. So from plant to each plant is in the second road of the state highway. Any order in trucks are coming, it is again taking 2 to 3 hours order time. If plant is again 3 to 4 hours, so it will minimum 8 to 9 hours. And again transit journey 8 a.m.
Hello.
Not available listing rating. customer needs the material. If our material reach after 10, our whole day trucks are mostly running. So our resources are wasting because customers don't have to pay the double handling charges. So this is our major challenges. So now we have started stock on wheels. Many cities our trucks are ready morning. If any order comes early morning, I need cement. Within 1 hour we are delivering the cement because our having the customer to their delivery as per their schedule. But always it is not possible. Only now we are possible only 20 to 30%. So this is we are facing the challenges.
Yes, I think you captured it nicely. Would get back to Priyanka if you have any questions. We would be happy to answer them.
Yes, we have one question. So question is, what are the top 3 things which you are planning to do in your warehousing in 2023?
Virendra ji, you can take it up.
Okay, one is first of all, we are trying to do a low kind of automation, especially if we talk about cement industry, where warehouse automation is not at a very big pace. So we are trying to do a low automation in terms of loading and unloading practices, which Mr. Vijay was talking about, a lot of cost in terms of handling. So how to bring about low automation and bring down that cost. Second is, obviously you cannot have, it's a much more dusty space, right? So you may not have so much of digital kind of automation which you have it, but we are also trying to now, all the trucks are having RFID. Okay, so tracking is one part which we are doing it, and all our warehouses are under geofencing. So the moment truck reaches out there, it comes under geofence, and the moment it comes, the message goes to all the customer that or the CFA that the truck has reached for unloading, and then accordingly the GRN happens and the e-stamping is happening in terms of a POD system, EPOD kind of thing. So we are also tracking the entire activities of warehousing systems apart from POD, which is now it's a electronic system which we are having it. So from cement perspective, yes, not much, but yes, we are trying to enhance it more in terms of the cost, in terms of optimization of the space, in terms of how we can locate it through much more statistical process or through more optimized through some optimizer running through optimizer. So that way we are trying to do it. But if you talk about any other space like FMCG, people are going much more of a scanning process in a more digital manner, so that the physical counting process, the physical error process which used to happen will come down.
I think thanks a lot for all the panel members to share their insights. Yes.
I want to share in cement industry due to its volume now. It is traditional mindset. It just will not one or days, so our reducing in our business. So we are trying to how can we reduce this, because everywhere we are pushing every truck to asking the transporter what he think might take 1 or 2 days. So all consignment is in industry. So it is a 30 to 40 rupees. So we are working on that. How can we change our transporter, our customer? In other FMC or high value material, this cost is not included. Because their delivery system is very efficient. They take the delivery immediately. So this is our labor efficiency job. So this is, I think, really inclusive, very high cost in civil industry. So that should be slowly taken there. Sanjay sir, when I Sanjay sir, hello.
Yeah.
Sanjay
I have
sir?
some idea, layout, location, and the efficiency use of the metal and equipment. Again, I am talking about the as volume is increasing, you should a bigger volume equipment where your productivity can increase or your cost can decrease. So layout, location, and higher capacity utilization is a guru mantra to reduce the cost and succeed of the warehousing.
Sir, Sanjay sir, I asked one question. Now railway is working traditionally same way.
Your voice is disturbing, and it is not a fairly come.
There is an innovative in.
I think आप अपना camera बंद करें. You close your camera, then your voice is coming fairly.
Okay, sir.
Again, disruption of that bandwidth. If you okay, now you can talk.
Yes, sir. Sir, now I am asking, sir. Now railway is working only two wagons. Boxer is 4,000 ton capacity. BSCN is 2,700 empty capacity. Now in cement plant, 40% material or 50% material is moving to other grinding unit. So railway is same pattern. There is no capacity increase in wagon also then. So there is any changes in Adani who can take more volume material in lower cost.
So you can understand now the word DFCC and the special route allotted by the one scheme is already opened by the Government of India, Ministry of Railway. So you can have your own wagons, you can have your own baler. So now first things are coming. Now they have allowed 25 metric ton per axle wheel. Means you can carry 100 metric ton wagons. When you do the wagon, you can reduce the tear weight of the wagon. Earlier, when you make a wagon from the MS steel or the high tensile steel, your tear weight is around 14 or 15 metric ton. Now, when technology is used, you can have a high concessional materials used where your tear weight is reduced by even 8 metric ton in front of the 5. So you can increase the 5 metric ton volume in terms of the tear weight. So now you can cater a volume of 80 metric ton in a one rack, one coach.
Wagon.
And this coach is now also increased. Earlier the capacity is increased by 45 numbers. Now the railway can carry a wagon of 1.6 kilometer, means they can carry a wagon of 54 numbers. So your carrying capacity increase, your wagon capacity increase, and everything increase. Only the exception is that you have to approach with the dedicated agencies, dedicated railway freight forwards, and the dedicated railway board to take it such a granted things. Now the even JSLW is doing this, Tata Steel is doing this, all other major player of the company, those are in a freight business their own, they are doing this type of innovation in their systems.
Okay, thank you.
I think Vijay, Mr. Vijay, if you require anything else from offline, you can send it a mail. I will support you and I will also guide you how to be or a cement industry can be and take a better advantage.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you everyone. Please smile so that we can take a screenshot.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all the esteemed leaders for making this discussion rich with your thoughts. Now, the most awaited moment of the evening has come to an end. A precious moment to celebrate success and innovation. Inflection Awards are India's most prestigious awards in supply chain, logistics, technology, procurement, marketing, and organized by all the global value advisors. Today, 100 plus CXOs and 300 plus attendees are watching this live on our website. Now, let's start the celebration with the first award for Supply Chain Leader of the Year 2022 that goes to Kaushal Dhanavade from Escorts Limited. Congratulations, Mr. Kaushal. I request you to please come and speak few words on your achievement. So the next award for Outstanding Supply Chain Leader of the Year, Transformation Project of the Year, Corporate Quality 2022 that goes to Crompton Greaves. I request Mr. Bhushan to receive the award and speak a few words on this.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for Priyanka and everyone. I'd like to thank the Inflection team, the jury members for recognizing our efforts. To receive this award, it's really a great pleasure for me. I also would like to thank to Crompton leadership team for believing in me and giving this opportunity to drive this transformation at our Crompton factories, at our vendor business partners, and to front-end team as well. So once again, thank you to everyone. In fact, to my team as well, whose relentless efforts has made this possible. So once again, thank you to everyone and congratulations to all the winners. Thanks.
Congratulations. Please smile so that we can take a screenshot. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next award for Outstanding Technology Implementation in Warehouse 2022 that goes to Arush Logistics Park. I request Mr. Dinesh to come and speak few words on achievement.
Yes, thank you so much, Inflection Award Forum, and it's really a matter of pride, and this award definitely matters for me and of course for my organization. This was a lot of effort that we had to put in to bring the entire park through an IoT-based solution to a state wherein we are able to monitor, control, and ensure that it helps us in making the decisions while we are sitting far away from the local location of the park. Thank you so much for this.
Congratulations, Dinesh. Keep it up. Let's capture this happy moment. Please smile so that we can take a screenshot. Thank you. Next award for Temperature Control Pharma Logistics Service Provider 2022 that goes to Sequel Logistics. Now I request Mr. Rajkumar to speak few words on a wonderful achievement.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thanks Inflection team for organizing this. Going through the whole process, and of course for recognizing our service in this sector. So it's a niche, logistics sector that we are in, and I would also like to congratulate our team members. Kripal and his entire team who've worked very hard to make this possible in this very tough and challenging industry where the temperature and the shipment integrity is of prime importance. Of course, COVID period has sort of challenged us as well in terms of moving some of the COVID samples as well as vaccines and stuff. So thank you so much for the recognition, and we surely our teams will be really motivated to further go higher and achieve greater heights. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, great show. I request you to kindly smile so that we can capture this moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next award for Best Warehouse Solutions Team of the Year 2022 MSME that goes to ARC Supply Chain Solution. I request Mr. Ramesh to please come and speak few words on our achievement.
Thank you, Priyanka. This is Kamlesh. And thank you so much for Inflection Award for recognizing us for the contribution we make to the supply chain industry in India. We have been in this business for over 40 years and looking forward to continue being the most trusted business 3PL partners for our existing and new clients. Thank you. Thank you, Inflection.
Great show, Kamlesh. Keep up the good work. And please smile so that we can capture this moment. Thank you. Last award for the day is FinTech 40 under 40 that goes to Ramesh Bist from Remsen Enterprise Payments Network Private Limited. Congratulations, Ramesh. Please speak few words on a wonderful achievement.
इंक्लूसिव जीएसटी ओके तो अगर वो इंक्लूसिव जीएसटी है ना तो फिर ये डिस्काउंट में मेरा गड़बड़ कर रहा है मेरा वही ऑब्जर्वेशन हाँ ठीक थैंक यू सर
Mr. Ramesh, you are on mute. I think due to some technical issues now.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah, not audible now. But you're not visible, Ramesh. Please open.
Hello. हाँ जी.
Ramesh, your video is off actually.
हाँ जी.
Is it okay?
मैं एक बार कंफर्म करूँ.
It seems working from my side. I don't know.
Yeah. You're audible, but you're not visible actually. You can proceed.
Okay, so I thank you. Thank you, Priyanka, and all the Inflection team members for recognizing my profile for this prestigious award. On this occasion, I want to thank you all my past and present colleague and employees and the friends who have made this possible. Because of my experience has been because of working with them and learning with them. In Remsen, we are trying to use that experience with a few other wonderful team members and look forward to create some good business opportunities for other stakeholders, for our customers and the partners. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ramesh. Great show. Please smile so that we can capture this moment. Thank you, top leaders and delegates, for sharing your contribution and making this rich discussion. Hope you all will be able to carry the thoughts of the day to build a robust roadmap and strategies. See you at our next FMCG Supply Chain Web Conference and Awards, 24th March 2022. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you.